2012. Professional marijuana business consultant. Is also educational programming partner to the New England Cannabis Convention in Massachusetts, Maine, and Rhode Island, as well as medical marijuana cultivation expert witness in Massachusetts. I give you Michael Fitzgerald.
Yay!
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rick. I really want to thank you for setting this up today. I want to thank all of our sponsors who have come here today. This is a really great group. And I just want to say I'm really proud of everything and the way this has been going. I've been in the cannabis industry for most of my life, for over 40 years. I've been a professional grower for a little over 40 years. I went out to San Francisco when I was a very young man, and I have not left the industry since. So to see this room today, and to see the way we have progressed, it just makes me so proud. It really does. So I just really want to thank you all for coming out and showing that this is the way we can go in this industry. To take it from where it's been and bring it to where we know it can go, it is just fantastic. And you're all a part of it, and we're all pioneers. And this is the way to do this. So I want to thank you all, and I want to thank the panel for being here. And that last panel was really fantastic. I love that very much. And we're going to talk about a few other aspects today. So I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves, starting with Kyle at Creative Environmental over here, and give us a minute about yourself.
So my name is Kyle Duquette. I work for Creative Environment Corp., which is a subsidiary of Felsch Engineering. Felsch owns a bunch of engineering firms, everything from construction testing down to Creative Environment, which is their MEP, FP division. I am the head telecom and security engineer for the company. I started at a contractor in Rhode Island that did security and telecommunications work. When I wrapped up college with an engineering and architecture degree, I moved on to Creative Environment Corp. And from there on, I've been working on security for every commercial type of building to medical grows.
Excellent.
My name is Abhinand Rangesh. I'm the Director of Project Development for Tecogen. Tecogen is a publicly traded company. We're based here in Malton, Massachusetts. We manufacture combined heat and power equipment. We do natural gas engineering chillers, which really is more what we'll be talking about for this industry. And we also do heat pumps. My background is in engineering. I have a PhD in engineering, and I've done everything from solar lighting, energy efficiency, to now cogen and chiller projects.
Thank you.
Fran Boucher with National Grid. I'm an engineer in the Business Efficiency Policy Group. Done a lot of work in the past in labs, data centers, new construction, virtually every type of commercial energy efficient energy building. And now I'm working in this new area for us. And here representing also Albin, Mass Save, and Rhode Island utility companies here in my discussions. There's Eversource Utility, Cape Light Compact, Unitil. We're all together offering incentives for our customers to help to make these facilities more energy efficient.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Howe. I am a partner at Select Energy. We're in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, that little town where the Boston Marathon starts, west of Boston, about 26 miles. We've been in the solar energy business now for about 8 years, kind of the inception of the program here at Mass. We focus on commercial energy, or commercial facilities, not utility scale, not residential. So we've done over 350 projects here in Massachusetts now. We've been the largest developer installer for about the last 5 years in the commercial space. We're also in Connecticut and Rhode Island now. And we offer multiple financing solutions. So we work with a lot of business owners who own the building, tax credits, they want to own the system, so we would engineer, procure, construct for them, and then we service and support that facility long term. Or we can own the facility ourselves and then sell them back the power. And we work with a lot of non-for-profits in that manner. So we have a wide range of ways of implementing solar for a commercial facility.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Eric Gould. I'm owner of Helicon Design Group, Inc. in Boston. We're architects. I think, like a lot of companies in this room, we are newcomers to this space, which we've been in since 2015. commercial, mainly architects, and we're traditionally into turnaround projects, retrofitting existing buildings for all types of users, mainly commercial office and medical office. So we're quite accustomed to coming into adaptive reuse of, generally mostly all idiosyncratic buildings that have to be converted to new uses. It just so happens our first startup project in Massachusetts is a ground-up new facility meant to be state-of-the-art for medical marijuana processing. So, steep learning curve for us. We have other types that are also coming in. So, looking forward to hearing what everybody else has to say.
Thank you. Okay, Kyle, I'd like to start with you. And as a building owner, what would a cannabis dispensary, what are you looking for with state regulations? What is it we need to look at with state regulations?
On my end, for the security, the big thing for the building owner and for a grower is to read through the regulations and understand that there needs to be dedicated security room, there needs to be surveillance of the site anywhere that's being cultivated, harvested, processed, and transportation of it needs to be under 24/7 surveillance. Everything needs to be under lock and key, which can be a couple different ways of it. They kind of leave it a little lax. Also, the site needs to be in mass. There's a line in the regulations for medical that mentions the need for pretty much a clear-cut site. They don't really mention it, but they talk about how you can't have trees or bushes for a person to be hidden or disguised from camera view. They also talk about adequate lighting of the space in the end of the rooms, intrusion detection on all doors that lead or exit certain rooms, and motion detection in hallways. So those are all huge things that need to be looked at and accounted for in the buildings, and especially as a building owner, as you go to sign a lease agreement with someone, you need to know that this is a cost that's probably going to have to be taken on by you to make sure that this is implemented in there and they can have a fully regulated building.
Excellent, thank you. So, Abinand, tell us about some chiller options. We're going to have a lot of different things that are used in different facilities, and chiller options are really important. Could you tell us a little bit about Tecogen and chiller options?
Sure. So, as most of you know, cannabis requires a lot of energy to grow. I mean, you're probably talking something like 40 times an average household, like 5,000 foot grow facility. As you start getting beyond the 10,000 square foot facility, you're going to need a lot of cooling. It's something like 100 tons of cooling. And when you've factored in the grow lights and all the other energy needs that are directly electrically related, you have to now add the cooling portion to it. And a lot of facilities are unable to even get sufficient power supply, and hence they're delayed until the grid can support them. So one of the things that we've found more recently is our engine-driven chillers being very, very popular in this industry for the primary reason that they use natural gas, they have an engine, so and they're also operating completely independent of the electrical network, so you don't need to worry about power requirements. And because they have an engine, we're able to recover the heat produced by the engine and use that for dehumidification of the facility. And then in addition, the exhaust emissions are producing CO2, and because we have some emission control technology on it, we essentially take out all of the CO2, the CO and the NOx from the emissions, and we can pump the CO2 back in to boost the growing. So we found in some of the facilities in Colorado this has been extremely popular, and now we're working with a lot of facilities in the Northeast, where as they're getting permits, we're sort of working with the engineering firms as well as the owners themselves to put in these kind of engine-driven chillers.
Thank you, very good. Fran, are there incentives available for anything other than energy-efficient lighting in grow facilities? Could you tell us a little bit about what's going on there?
Sure. The utility companies in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and for that matter, Maine as well, have been offering incentives for all our commercial industrial customers for many years for energy efficiency. These are incentives for both gas energy efficiency measures and electric energy efficiency measures. So cannabis falls into our commercial industrial class. It's eligible for all the same types of incentives, and therefore in the cannabis growing facility area, we have incentives for more efficient lighting products, more efficient air conditioning. There's heating at night, more efficient heating systems, and dehumidification systems. Also, there's been talk today about odor mitigation, and though I'm not aware of us offering any incentives for odor mitigation control methods, I'm aware that there are some methods that are more energy efficient than others, so I believe there's even potential for some incentives in those areas.
Excellent, thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you to tell a little bit about your company. I'm sorry about that, so if you'd like to, I missed it here, and we'll get back to you. Okay. Excuse me. Scott, would you tell us about Select Energy?
Okay. We are mainly a solar energy provider, developer, and owner in the state, and we work with the current federal and state incentives to help local companies institute solar, on their facilities. And there's really a couple of ways to do that. The primary one is, we'll call it behind the meter. So you connect up your mini power plant, the solar energy power plant, behind your current meter. For every kilowatt hour that you produce, you're saving the kilowatt hour that you spend. So that's the primary benefit of it. At the same time, the state's provided some incentive dollars. So for those solar energy kilowatts you're producing, you're getting these credits that can be sold and turned into cash. They help finance the facility. And then on top of it, at the federal level, you're getting a 30% federal income tax credit for the cost of the system. In addition, you can get bonus depreciation dollars. They can be used, 60% of it can be used in year one. If you look at the total federal tax incentives, if you can utilize them, they can pay up to 45–50% of your system costs. So for most people, we're seeing paybacks of 5 to 6 years if you were to just stroke a check. If you to lever it up, you're starting to see cash flow positive really in year one. We own quite a few facilities ourselves. As I said, we service the not-for-profit market, private schools, towns, school systems, etc. In those cases, for our own systems, we seem to go cash flow positive somewhere between month 7 and 9, and then kind of stay cash flow positive. Now, the incentives have been reduced every year that I've been in the business, and they continue to be reduced. I'm also a member of the Solar Business Association here. I'm one of the board members. And policy-wise, the Department of Energy Resources just passed a new emergency regulation that's going to go into effect in 6 to 9 months. I mean, it's going to a feed-in tariff here in Massachusetts, if you're not aware of that. That's what's instituted today in the Rhode Island market, as a matter of fact. So it's going to be through the distribution companies. So National Grid and Eversource will be instituting these in the future. So somewhere probably Q2 of 2018, you're going to see a very different incentive program. But the Department of Energy Resources has called out that they want to do another 2,000 megawatts or 2 gigawatts of solar energy under this program. So it's literally doubling the program size. So there's plenty of opportunity, and with cannabis facilities, with the energy that they use, you're going to put a major strain on the grid here in New England. So anything that you can do to offset your electrical use is going to be beneficial. Lighting, controls, variable speed drives, it's really about lighting motor modes when you get right down to it. And solar, being incorporated into the mix can significantly reduce those energy costs that you have.
Thank you, Scott. Eric, what is the architect's role in the overall process of planning and opening a facility?
Well, these days we're finding the main role is speed. I think everybody's in a hurry to get a facility online and get their grow and their product out to market as quickly as possible. We've been finding that with the regulations changing and that those necessarily affect facility design and what's feasible for facility costs. So in terms of our work, we always encourage owners and other members of the industry to go out and commission teams that are already online. Like our company, we're affiliated with engineers in this space, code consultants in this space, other practitioners that we can basically mobilize very quickly and get working right away, whether it's an existing facility or ground up. As I mentioned before, our first project was atypical. It was a ground up facility, started construction this year in Norwell. So it was a steep learning curve for us. But these buildings, they're sort of dumb boxes for grow rooms, but they're actually highly complex facilities. There's security requirements, obviously. There are also office buildings, there are retail spaces, and there's all kinds of theories about what the dispensary space should be like, both for recreational market and medical market. Our first project was geared completely toward medical use. So we actually became a consulting partner with Phytoscience in Vermont, which is a physician-led research and development company that is doing clinical studies on cannabis as an alternative to opioid pain medication. So that's a very different kind of retail environment than a commercial environment would be. So there's a lot of elements at play, for a square-looking, plain industrial kind of building.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
There really are so many different things at play here. And today you're going to be hearing about a lot of different things. And the energy and the different things that are coming to this, all the different providers we have here today make this one fluid operation. Without a piece of this, we're really down. And I've seen a lot of people stumble coming through this process. So to have these experts here and to listen to this is just fantastic. What we have to look at is, I believe, in my personal opinion, of watching the cannabis industry for so long, so many people coming online in the next few years, we have to watch our pennies and dollars today about how we do our investing and about how we get our buildings put up, because the per gram price is going to be coming down over the course of time. So if you're starting with your facility up here and you're not thinking about all these incentives and energy and all of the pluses that we can put into a facility now, thinking about long-term growth, you will be able to stay above the curve if you do all of this thinking now with this fantastic group of people we have here. So that's just something to think about, these incentives and these energy programs and to design things properly. It's all in the beginning. It's all in getting that consulting, understanding where we're going and where we're going to be in a few years. So Kyle, what are the pros and cons of going above and beyond the state's requirements?
On my end, I see a lot of pros of going a little above and beyond some of the requirements. I know one of the requirements is that all staff shall be badged. Now that could be anything from a name tag that you wrote down as the owner of the dispensary and give that to them. But also the regulations require doors to be under lock and key. So I consider two birds, one stone. You go get an access control system where you're able to print out badges with people's face, their job title, their names, all their information on there. And they can use that to go into rooms that they're allowed to go into. They can use that to tag in, tag out. And then you have a tracking list of who went where, when did they go, what time, how long were they in there. They also require that visitors must be badged and be logged in and logged out. You can also do that with the access control system by giving out visitor badges that are printed out at that moment, and that creates a log the minute that they badged into the facility and the minute they badged out. You do a contractors, everybody else that has to visit that site. So you become compliant to the regulations, but you also have a better tracking log, so it's a lot more efficient for your end of the thing. It also makes, I think, your life easier because depending on who you get checking out your building, checking out if you're compliant with regulations, you might be in an area where they really don't want you to be there at all, which is a very common thing. So if you do everything you can to comply and be above what they want for regulations, it will probably make your life a lot easier. You don't want to go through it. They'll hold up a job for no reason at all just because they got a hair across their butt. So everything you can do to make them happy is the best thing for you. It'll make your job go a lot easier and faster. The only real con I see to it is that there is going to be a premium in cost. A lot of that is going to come down, though, with the way that you'll be doing things and the efficiency you have, but the upfront cost will be more than it would be for doing it just bare minimum, just give me the regulations and call it a day.
Excellent. Besides state regulations, I, as a grower, don't want people wandering around my place. Thank you. So, Abinand, what are some advantages of engine-driven chillers?
So I think it's a lot more about operating cost, and it's not just about today's operating cost. If we look at some of what's happened in Colorado over the time that the industry has grown, we can see that within the first couple of years, the marijuana industry, Denver alone, was consuming something like 2% of the city's electrical power, and then statewide it was using something like 50% at peak time, which meant that suddenly utilities started taking a lot more notice, and they started not only putting special tariffs on just the marijuana industry. And when you start looking at chillers, when you design these facilities, you could look at first cost, go with the cheapest option, as Kyle just mentioned. That may not be in your best interest. Because when you go in with, say, an air-cooled, very, very cheap option, you might get the system up and running, but then over time, it's going to cost you a lot more money. One of the things with especially the larger engine-driven chillers, is they're water-cooled. They are designed really for the process industry. We've been in business for about 30 years. We've done this in a variety of different industries. And it's really designed for continuous operation. And something like a chiller, to pull it out and replace it once you've got a facility up and running, that's much, much harder. So you're better off designing it right in the first place. And as I mentioned also about the dehumidification advantages, the CO2 advantages, you've got all of that as well. And in addition, you're a lot more efficient with this process, and it's also much greener than almost any other solar option that you could put out there, just because of the fact that a lot of the time when you're needing peak capacity, the grid is forced to use things like coal-fired power plants. So at non-peak time, you might not be as green, but when you start looking at really over the course of a year, the gas engine-driven chiller tends to be a lot more efficient. And right now, I'm sure as my colleagues there will tell you, there's a lot of incentives for these kind of systems to be more efficient if you put this in. So you might as well take advantage of a lot of that incentive money and put in the right systems from day one.
Absolutely, thank you. So, Fran, could you tell us a little bit about some other energy efficiency incentives that target different things in this industry?
Sure. I'd like to just say, somebody can hear me. Yes, the TECO, these engine-driven chillers made by this company or others would be a product that would be eligible for an incentive. So that is something that we would highly encourage you to look at. One of the more specialized opportunities that you could look at for your facilities, in addition to, say, a solar option, would be combined heat and power or a cogeneration system, where you could generate electricity on the site, which these facilities will be using a lot of, and use the waste heat in the process of doing some of the heating and the dehumidification for these facilities. So those have great potential, and those are areas where the utilities have tremendous incentives available. They also, a lot of these facilities, a lot of these cannabis products are being used as edibles now. So a lot of these facilities are putting in commercial kitchens for doing these commercial cooking processes, and we have incentive for those kitchen products, kitchen equipment as well, and the ventilation systems that take care of those systems. I wanted to, if I could, jump in and point out, make 2 quick points though. The speed was mentioned earlier by Eric, right? Talked about the speed that things are moving at. In working with our customers right now, one of the things we're finding is it's difficult for them to find the time to communicate with us about their projects. And they often get to us too late in the process for us to offer them the full benefit if they could achieve from getting our incentives and from our technical assistance, which we underwrite as well. We provide engineering services at a reduced cost, in some cases free, to help you to identify what the best options are for you. So in working with the utility incentives, it's important to get to us as early as you can in the process. We can talk to the owner, we can talk to the design team, we could talk to the contractor who might be involved, work with any of these parties to make sure you take maximum advantage of the incentives. And one other thing I'd like to jump in and mention is everyone's talking about how new this industry is, in New England at least. And so there are lots of competing ideas on what the most efficient system is for a particular project. And in some cases, an air conditioning system might be efficient in one particular building design or operational design, but not efficient in another because of other factors in the design. So that's where we come in as the utilities. We do engineering studies, energy studies, to help to determine specifically for your facility and all the factors that go into its design, what would be the most efficient operation for your facility. But at the same time, we also understand that efficiency isn't necessarily the top priority for a grower. Their top priority is obviously producing their product. And to produce the product, you need to have reliable systems. So there are situations where the most efficient system may not give you the redundancy that you would like. If a piece of equipment fails, you want to have something else there to back you up. So there are situations where it may prove to be your advantage to use even a less efficient system. We understand that, so we're not there to push something on you that's not going to be good overall for your business. Okay, we want what's best for the customer. So we can help you take those factors into consideration as well. There's a good example of that out there right now. Some people are in these grow facilities are using these what's called the variable refrigerant flow, or VRF, air conditioning system to cool their facility, and they can be in many cases more efficient than other alternatives, but they may not be the most efficient piece of equipment that you could install in your facility. But there could be advantages because the VRF systems tend to be small capacity. So if any one of them stops working at any given time, it's going to have minimal or negligible impact on your overall facility. Where if you had a larger systems, if you had a fan failure or a piece of equipment failure that's a larger piece of equipment, you could lose all the, potentially, depending on how you lay your room out, you could lose all the cooling for a particular room until a piece of equipment gets serviced. So those are things we can help you to look at. In mentioning those VRF systems, I wanted to share this, that many people are not aware that the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center has just released or authorized in the last couple of months a very substantial grant program where they will pay up to $180,000 in incentives for people to install these VRF systems for heating and cooling in their facilities. And I did check with them just earlier this week, and they said that these cannabis grow facilities would be eligible for those grants, provided they are producing some heating. And most of these areas, at least in the grow rooms when the lights are off, they will be requiring some heating. So there's a strong indication that you may be eligible for some very substantial incentives from the Clean Energy Center. Now, the utility companies offer separate incentives. That's a grant from a different organization, but at the same time, we can help you to determine if that is a good option for you from an efficiency perspective, or if you need to go there from a first cost standpoint. Those systems will provide the heating and cooling, but you will probably still need dehumidification systems, you'll still need lighting systems, so we can help you to determine what package would be most efficient alongside those VRFs.
Excellent, thank you. Scott, why does it make sense for cannabis growers to invest in solar energy? And what do you think the 3 top reasons for cannabis growers to consider solar are?
Well, let's think of it in terms of real estate, since we're at a real estate meeting here. Location, 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 right? You hear that all the time in real estate. Well, I would say from a solar standpoint, it's about energy savings, energy savings, energy savings. I mean, that's really what it's all about. Now, the technology, what's very nice about solar is that you have significantly long warranty periods on the equipment. So pretty much all the capital equipment that you're going to put in is 10 years or more. The panels themselves give you 25-year guarantees on production output. So the maintenance of the systems are very, very low and comparable to other energy forms. And a lot of times, what we're seeing is we'll put in a rooftop application. And rooftop applications are very easy to permit. You don't have to go through your local Concom to get approvals. No one cares really what you put on your roof. As a matter of fact, they're very low profile systems, so most people wouldn't even know they were on your buildings to start with. And again, the maintenance of them are significantly low. So you can put these in very quickly at a reasonable cost. As I said before, the incentive dollars, both taxes and state incentives, are fundamentally paying for a good percentage of those systems, so the paybacks on them are very good. And you now have kind of long-term control of your energy profile, right, which is going to be very important. One of the key things to remember is about every 6 months, the electrical utilities have to go through their rate adjustments, right? And they go up, they go down, and over time, we see 3.5% to 4% type increases. You put in your own facility, you know exactly what the cost of that energy is, right? It's offsetting, kilowatt hour for kilowatt hour. So you're taking control of kind of your energy future and your cost models and your maintenance budgets over time. So I think it's a significant advantage, to you to have that on your buildings. And we deal with a lot of real estate people and putting in solar. And one of our clients, I think, said it best. He says it's the tenant that doesn't talk back. So it really is using an asset, right, that you can't use for anything else, a roof. Right? And how do you generate revenue from that? Well, by putting solar on it, you can. Right? So it's another asset, or it's another generating revenue stream for your business. And if you go to sell that facility, right, it increases what it's worth, right? Because now you got a little revenue generator that's going along with it. So it's the tenant that doesn't talk back.
Excellent, thank you.